Welcome back to a second episode today of Growing Up in the Wilds of Suburbia. I just finished an amazing exercise class. I've been doing this now consistently, 3 days a week minimum, plus my normal 5 day a week workouts. Well, I'd say normal, but it's actually more. It's more. I have more fire in my workouts right now because I'm doing something with the emotional energy and the frustration, the things that the energies that we typically have that consume us when we're in trying times, especially emotionally trying times. So I am what came to mind is a couple of things while I was doing this workout because I get immense clarity while I'm doing this because I can be even more present than I am without the exercise taking place. So, or it's a different kind of presence. And a couple of things came to mind. One of those things that came to mind today was, what do we do with this energy? There's, and who's there to mature us through those challenges? Like when we're going through those hard times where the emotions you've had for somebody, like breakups and things like that, or the loss of somebody, whether that's to death or if it's through breakup. Although the experience is similar but not the same. Uh, I I've realized that kind of energy is like gasoline, the same as frustration is like gasoline. Now, if you don't do anything with it and do something to help you move forward in time, it doesn't matter what direction, as long as you're moving a direction, you're not stuck in the wallow and the misery of what you are going through. You can still appreciate it. I appreciate what I'm going through because that helps me understand the reality of what's taking place. But the energy that's there, being like gasoline, if you pour it on yourself, it'll burn you it'll burn you alive, right? But if you put it into a vehicle, not just meaning a car, but a vehicle mechanism that moves you towards, let's say, losing weight. Well, that mechanism will move you towards losing weight because it's an additional energy source beyond what you had prior to that immense energy. So now it could be, I'm going to focus on business. I'm going to focus on areas that either it's a strength of yours, so at least you can alleviate some of the depressing experiences and emotions and sensations that you have, where you're like, I don't want to do something, and I'd rather sit here and just, pity the fact of loss, or, tear myself apart for not doing something that, in hindsight, all of the potential options that you could have created something else. You could have done something to change what you're going through. Those things obviously are great for self-reflection, but it depends on if you're looking at it to reconstruct the wall, that has been damaged, and maybe not the wall, because the wall kind of is the prevention from one side to the other, and maybe deflection and all of that. But perhaps the idea of a bridge would be better. So maybe you're using that time to rebuild the bridge so that you are back to life. You're functioning again. Because when those things happen, the phoenix bursts into flames, if you will, kind of creates an island where the thing that's most important at that moment is that you get back to the core, you get back to the center, and that's what the egg is for the phoenix, is its truest center, and then you build from there. Well, in this analogy, you're building a bridge so you get back to humanity, so you can be more present with people and not so present just inside of yourself over the loss. So, so that what came to mind is, how to put that energy into something that helps you, something that builds a future that can potentially get closer to meeting your deepest desires. But you have to be the architect of that. You can't, don't expect somebody else to come create your deepest desires. They're not, it's not going to happen. You can have companionship to experience it, but nobody else is going to do that for you. Nobody. So be that person. Otherwise, you'll always be dependent on someone. So, what also came to mind is when you meet somebody that you click with and you connect with at a pretty decent level and a deep level enough that you feel passion. Passion is a red flame, right? It's hot. That's why we've always described red hot passion. Right? You're drawn to it like a moth to a light or a flame. You're drawn to it, and you can really relish and enjoy yourself in that passion. That's one side, and that's common, and people seek that out. I want to have a very passionate experience. We seek that out. We're looking for it. We enjoy it when we find it, and then we, relish in that as long as that be there. Sometimes it just, the light, the flame slowly dies out, and then now you're left with whatever is in that world that you were, that you created, right? That you created with that other person. It may just be the superficial level that ignited the passion, but a deep superficial level. Now, when I say that, it sounds conflicting, but we do have deep superficial levels. Because you're like 360 degrees of a sphere. It's not just the circumference of the sphere, it's the depth of the sphere. So you have such a dynamic existence. So people are like, oh, that's so superficial. Sometimes you need to use a superficial experience in order to get to a deeper level, but to what depth is it before it's no longer superficial? And there's ways to qualify that, but that takes a lot of maturity and a lot of introspection, because intimacy creates the depth. And if you're not fully giving yourself to that person or that moment, or even giving yourself to yourself, because a lot of times we deny ourselves intimacy with ourselves because of Pandora's box. Try to avoid it as much as we can. So when I say even though it's superficial, but the depth of superficial doesn't mean anything. And negatively, we've always liked to qualify things, and we chastise others, even if it's not directly at them, simply by the context of talking about superficial experiences. And it's not fair, because that's part of the human experience. Now, if you spend the majority of your time in a superficial experience, then you only get the depth that allows you to have back. Speaking from long personal experience with many people, intimacy is one of the greatest rewards you can ever give yourself in a relationship with another person, and with a relationship to yourself. But I don't mean intimacy by its distilled concept that we've created as a society by saying intimacy is sex. It's not. Intimacy is connection. And if you're not deeply connected to yourself, no one else will know you for who you are at that deep level, at your most intimate level. But you also therefore cannot know somebody else at that deep intimate level. And that's the experience that we all seem to thrive for. We seem to constantly labor our efforts into getting to that place, that we can deeply experience another human being like that, and that we can experience ourselves in that, so that we feel like we're more empowered. Because that's also what you feel when you're at that deep level with somebody else. You feel powerful. You feel capable. You feel the world will recognize your existence simply because you are so in tune with yourself. Being that deeply in love with somebody is often a reflection of your love for yourself, because that's how the other person will know you. And the more you willingly let yourself be vulnerable enough to be known, then the more likely you are the world will see that. And it's one of the major reasons why we drive for that. So that's the hot passion energy, the flame of passion. It's red, it's hot. On the other side, when things don't work out and the emotional maturity isn't quite there enough, you get the blue flame. And the blue flame is, that person no longer exists to me. I am completely cauterizing the existence of that person from my life. I'm going back and I'm retracing the relationship that I had, and I'm erasing how I felt about that person. So this often happens whenever somebody feels like they've been betrayed. So going back and marking it out and retraining themselves for what they experienced. So this moment I felt like I was deeply in love with this person was a lie. This moment this person was this for me. No, that wasn't true. Oh, and that's the blue flame. And it's a very powerful thing because it has the ability to erase the past. The red flame doesn't erase the past. It burns into the future. And it exists in the present and then into the future. The blue flame is common to be in the past and then in the present moment. And what it does is it tries to create a clearing so that the future could have the red flame. But the blue flame is there to consume everything it can to burn up and to change the emotions. It's intended to cauterize those emotions. It's a real interesting thing because most of the time we know this stuff. I'm not saying anything that anybody doesn't already know. I'm putting it into a conversational, a communicating package, right? It's a blue, cold flame. It's the coldest thing in existence. It's so cold that it will take things from the past and it will make it brittle. So much so that it fractures into pieces and then is reflective of just being dust of something worthy of being cleaned up and removed. That's the level of its value once the blue flame is consumed. It's a defense mechanism. It's a way of coping with the moment because the pain's so great, but the blue flame is part of the forging of Pandora's box. Because the blue flame is not about understanding how things truly went. The blue flame is intended to try to survive that moment. It's the counteracting flame that prevents the phoenix from erupting into flames. It's the one that makes Pandora's box so strong because it fortifies it. It's an awesome power, and I don't mean that in necessarily a negative or a positive, because it depends on where you be when that thing be there. I have had the blue flame. I've had that in my past. I choose not to use it. I choose not to allow it to exist. I choose that it be something else. That I'm excited about the opportunity for the red flame, right? I love having the red flame. But I'm also not addicted to the idea relationships always need to be driven by passion. It's a part of it. I have relationships where I deeply love the people that are involved. I have some very important relationships that I'll discuss as time goes on, so that those that find value in my videos, that watch them and that go by this type of insightfulness or the curiosity of life and existence, the human condition, you'll know more about my transition into my next phase. You're witnessing it now. There's amazing things happening in my very near future. So with that, what do you do when something's happening? Like you maybe used to using or having the blue flame, freeze away and destroy your previous experiences. Because the ashes of what's left over from the blue flame ends up in Pandora's box. The thing about it is, though, is that it's not gone, and it will never be gone. It will never be gone until you face it. You have to grow through it. And the interesting thing about the ashes of what's left over after the blue flame has consumed it, because it's not vaporized into nothing, it's ashes, is that the next time you get the opportunity to feel the red flame, the red flame has a way of urging you to open Pandora's box without your awareness. It has a way of secretly getting you in, so that when something happens to that relationship, the chaos is released, but then the ghosts that are the ashes come into existence again. Now that ghost may not carry the name of who created it, but the ghost carries the emotions of what it was like to go through those relationships, and then it infuses itself into what you're going through at that moment. And it's usually in language when we justify how we're feeling that somebody else was wrong. We use that as a way of justifying it, and that just puts everything, it starts putting everything back into Pandora's box. It's not going anywhere. That is the baggage that you carry through life. And the box gets, it gets bigger. You may be able to manage it differently over time, but it's not going away. Ever. It'll always be there. You have to go through it in order to overcome it. So the blue flame will put the ashes in the box. The red flame gives the opportunity for the blue flame to come in. Now, there's many reasons for the blue flame. It's not just betrayal. There's a lot of things. It could just be the relationship ended. And it doesn't have to be a partnership of the deep intimacy, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be that. It could be other things. It could be business ventures where you got burned. It could be whatever, where you felt like you were taken advantage of, or you were a victim of something, whatever it is. That can always show up in those places. But it's most common and easiest to put your mind around to think about those relationships of boyfriend-girlfriend, or boyfriend-girlfriend, whatever. You're that kind of relationship. It's easier to see it there. So, that's the blue flame. It's an incredibly powerful source of energy. And you ignite the blue flame through that frustration. The emotions that are escaping from Pandora's box, that's just igniting it. Because then it comes the wrath. Because the blue flame usually comes across, if you had to call it something, you can call it the blue flame of wrath. This person is gone. This experience is gone. This experience was not what I thought it was. This experience is now this other thing. It wasn't the amazing times we spent together. It was written over as lie. It was, this wasn't what it occurred to be. I was bamboozled or hoodwinked or betrayed. I was lied to. And wrath burns through those memories. Puts them away. So when something comes up and reminds them, it also, wrath shares a bed with hate. Because it's easier. When hate's present, wrath is justified. But you can use wrath to understand that you feel this concept of hate. But that's all the blue flame. And it will burn everything about what you want to be erased. The truly sad thing about it is, though, is that it's not going away. It will haunt. There's ghosts in that box. And those ghosts are the ghosts of the emotions that you will not allow yourself to go through. If we're hooked on happy, be prepared to find all the misery that you can find. Because your first appointments and the first ideas of how great life is, and those areas that are the enrichment of life, the sweetness of life. But eventually that sweetness starts to come down to the point that it's hard to obtain. And then depression is common. I'm not as happy as I used to be. The concepts of toxic people become more prevalent. And instead of people that are truly in this state of chaos, that are self-centered and a low level of, of survival, and that they need to screw other people over in order to survive, those people are the ones that, we can call them toxic, because they don't want the best for you, they don't want the okay for you, they don't want the present as much as they want you to help them get where they need to be. And it may be driven by 100% vice, or a bunch of vices. And those people, we could try to qualify them into a space of toxic. But it doesn't mean that person is lifelong toxic. It just means at that moment, they have a sinking effect on who you be. But if you're using that as a single definition, the sinking effect of who you be or who you are right now, then more and more people become that thing to you. Because if they're not happy often enough, if they're going through their struggles, if they're reacting in frustration, then you label them toxic. And the label becomes easier to attach to people. And that's a great challenge, because we often freeze that person in time. We put them in such a position that they wear that title. And it could be indefinite. There are people that have addictions. There are people that are doing things right now in life that are not the best for everyone around them. And whoever it is that falls on the less than desirable experience with that person, well, that one very well may think that person is a horrible person, that person's a bad person, and not understand the circumstances that brought that person to that situation, that they feel they've been wronged. So that's one of the major problems with this concept of toxic people, because it's so relative to where you are and what you want to experience. A lot of people are crying for help. A lot of people are trying to figure things out. And if we continue to harbor narcissistic tendencies that push others away unless they serve us, then the more of this chaos that we'll create in the world. That's why I do what I do. That's why I make these videos. That's why I'm creating this type of education into the world, is that I want to see that we can come together. But come together with a deeper understanding. This is not a cult movement. This isn't where we're all going to get together and sing Kumbaya, although that would be fun. This isn't about that. This is about being able to bring your unique differences and your unique life experiences and the things that you love and you take pleasure in and that you enjoy expressing, and all of its uniqueness can come to one place, and we can all relish in that joy in a way that we appreciate it, even if it's not our thing. So we can have that future, or you can have that future, or you can have the future that the blue flame burns everything. Jordan Peterson says that, if something happens to you that's bad in your life, and it happens once, it just may be something that happened. If something bad that's happened to you in life and it happens twice, well, you may just be in a really, the environment is just not necessarily the best for you. But if something bad happens to you in your life 3 times, it's likely not the world. It's more likely you. God, I hope it's you and not the world. So if you feel that, that you're always cheated on relationships, then, and it's happened more than twice, it's happened 3 times, that's introspection time for you. And don't blame others. Because you got yourself into that relationship, and you may have gotten yourself into that relationship with somebody who's truly and very driven for monogamy, or very driven to honor the agreement that you create with that person. But if you train the other person that whatever it is that you don't want to happen, you train that person into that. You train them into that being, hopefully it stops, okay. You train them into that be the option that they take. It moves that direction. So there's a lot of responsibility that goes into it, on all parts. But the only thing you could ever do is be truly responsible for yourself. You have to be 100% responsible for yourself. People often believe that relationships take 50-50, right? 50% on one side, 50% on the other, and that makes 100%. No, that's not true. That's false. What it means is 50% of the time you do what's necessary for that relationship, and the other 50% of the time, you leave it up to the other person and you do whatever the hell it is that you want. That's wrong, because that leaves too much to blame the other person for. Relationships, if you want them to be the healthiest that you can have, for me, I choose relationships that I create. I do not want any relationships in my life that I am not part author with the other person. I'm 100% author for myself, and the other person is co-writing with me. And they have to be 100% of themselves. Now, they have to start there. They have to be willing to open themselves up to write their own part of our story at 100% of their own responsibility. They have to be open to that. Pain happens as we change. That's what happens. Like when you work out, you go through discomfort. The muscles go through pain, but then they get better. They get stronger. You increase your endurance, and then things shape differently, and you created that for yourself. But it will only ever come out of being responsible. 100% responsible. If you're not being 100% responsible, there's where your work is. Do not wait for somebody else to give you your life. They're not going to do it. You're not going to do it, and you'll resent people for not giving you what you want because you're not being responsible. Oh, and what happens from there? The blue flame comes in, burns things down, erases the way that the things that happened, and then puts it into Pandora's box, only for you to have to deal with it later. And it will happen. You have to push through it. Red flames are great. They're fun. They're the thing that we say, that's what I want more in life. Because it's passion. And who doesn't like passion? No one likes the blue flame until it's necessary. And when it's necessary, it's a coping mechanism. It offers some degree of solace. It's the thing that is so powerful, it changes the emotion from what it was to what fits your need for sanity, your need to feel like you're balanced. And it has to take away from the past in order to create that thing for you in the present, but will haunt you in the future. And then at some point in time, you may even become cynical of passion, because passion leads you to the blue flame. Now, I'm starting to feel passionate about this person, and then you pull away because you're like, no, I'm not going there again. I'm not going to go through that again. Too much pain. So the power of the blue flame is incredible. It's immense. But it's also just like the phoenix transition from it's either the egg or Pandora's box. Once it burns to ash, it's up to you to choose. Are you going to grow into the next magnificent, beautiful phoenix and care for the egg in a way that the phoenix can rise out of it? You rise into your future, knowing what you went through in the past and maturing through it, or the avoidance that you choose, which creates, the avoidance will create Pandora's box, and you use the blue flame to do that. I'm passionate about life. I have friends reaching out to me, concerned for me. I have lots of people that are concerned for me at this moment, because it's natural to do that for people when they're going through emotionally challenging times. And I appreciate it. I love them for it. I love them for their support, but this is mine. This is mine to go through. And I am. So, with that, I'm going to go ahead and shut down the, it's Thanksgiving. So, I am thankful for all of you. I'm thankful for everything, all different aspects. Not just thankful for the good things, I'm thankful for it all. I'm thankful for my workouts where they're not easy and they're hard on my body and they're challenging. I'm thankful for my wherewithal. I'm thankful for my insight. I'm thankful for my parents, my brothers. I'm thankful for the world that has conditioned me to see this way of life. And I hope that you join me in the journey of being thankful for that, becoming powerful in the process. This is not easy, but it's worth it. So hang in there, stick with me. Catch you next time. It's Chad Everett Brochures. I'm sorry, it's Sir Chad Everett Brochures, and this is Growing Up in the Wild Suburbia.